What's going on YouTube? This is Ipzag. I'm doing MetaTwo from HackTheBox, which starts off with just a WordPress application. It's running an event booking plugin that is vulnerable to SQL injection. The database is hardened, so you can't do like load file to read files on the server. You also can't just write files to web directory and get code execution that way. So you're just left with dumping the database, which allows you to get all the user hashes of the WordPress application so you can crack them. Unfortunately, the admin hash doesn't crack, but you get a low privilege user, and the version of WordPress that is running is vulnerable to a XML ending injection when processing the metadata of WAV files. So you can upload a malicious WAV file and use XML ending injection to read files on the server that leads to SSH access as a user. And that user has a password manager called PassPie that depends on GPG keys. You get their private GPG key that's encrypted with the password, you crack it, now you can access the PassPie password manager and read all the passwords stored. So with that being said, let's jump in. As always, we're going to start off with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, SV, enumerate versions, OA, output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it meta2, and then the IP address of 10.10.11.186. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have 3 ports open. The first one being FTP on port 21, and it's running a Pro FTPD server. This one is relatively unique. We haven't seen FTP in a while in HackTheBox, but I'm just going to try to log in. So just FTP 10.10.11.186, and it just says connected and is waiting a little bit. So I'm guessing it's trying to do some type of reverse DNS lookup because that's generally what happens when you're waiting for a user prompt to come in or a password prompt. So let's just try anonymous, and we get login incorrect. So we don't have anonymous login. We could try like brute forcing or things like that on FTP, but that's generally a last resort, right? So we have SSH on port 22. It's telling us it's a Debian box. Then we also have HTTP on port 80. It's telling us it's Nginx, and it's redirecting us to metapress.htb. So let's add this into our host file. So sudo vi etc host, and then we can do 10.10.11.186 and put metapress.htb. And let's open up Firefox and navigate to 10.10.11.186. Directs us to metapress.htb, and just based upon like recent post, welcome to the board, and of course this footer, I'm going to guess this is a WordPress site. So I'm not going to start off with like a go bust or anything. The first thing I'm going to do is a WPScan. So we can do WPScan-H for help because there's 2 options I always want to do. And I normally find them by just searching for aggressive, and it's going to be plugin detection and let's see, detection mode, right? So if we didn't do it, so if we just do URL, metapress.htb, it'll scan and probably not really find all that much information because it's just passive mode. So it's just going to look at like HTML source of the homepage and decide that's what the plugins are. So we see no plugins found. It's looking for like config backups and that's it, right? So I'm going to do whoops, let's go back. Detection mode, aggressive, and I think it was plugins detection. Let's see, plugins, -detection, aggressive, and we'll let this go. It takes a long time when you do it this way because it's going to attempt to navigate to a URL of every single plugin, which let's see if it tells us exactly how many that is. I want to say, yeah, it's going to be 103,000. So not the quickest, but it is always nice to have it going in the background. Looking at it, it's directing us to this metapress.htb/events. And if we click it, it looks like a WordPress plugin is here. Another good way is just look at the page source of everything, and we can see it's metapress.htb, WP content, plugins, BookingPress-Appointment. So we found the plugin here. We should probably look for exploits along the lines of BookingPress-Appointment. So if I do google.com, let's just do WordPress, booking, again, what was it? BookingPress-Appointments. Appointment, yeah. Let's just let it finish. And we have this unauthenticated SQL injection. So looking at this plugin script, it tells us, let's see, when was this date? fixed in version 1.0.11. Does this tell us what version it is in the HTML source? I don't see it. Oh, 1.0.01 or 1.0.10, right? And this is 1.0.11. So this is definitely going to be vulnerable. It's doing it through curl. So it's hitting this admin Ajax thing. And then we have this action, and it's doing booking press. We got a WP nonce here, category, and then just union all. So let's try this. I'm just going to copy the curl command. We can paste it in. And let's see, v test.sh. I'm just going to put it here so I can copy a bit better. There we go. We can get rid of that backslash because that was just telling it new line. And we want to put the domain, so metapress.htb. So if we cat test.sh, copy and paste it now, we could have just executed it as well, but I think this makes it more obvious what's happening for people. We need HTTP. And let's see, we can't process a request due to security reasons. A nonce is a security thing. It's like, I'm thinking it's like a CSRF token. It's not behaving exactly like one, but I'm going to guess that's the thing we have to change here, right? We could also maybe have invalid category ID here. So we may want to play with those parameters. But the first thing I'm going to change is this WordPress nonce. So if I go back to the page, this is just the HTML source of the events plugin, right? I'm going to search for nonce and take one that the website tells us, put it in, hit enter, and we have some data. It looks like it's going to be JQ syntax. I'm going to do a curl, let's see. -I think is showing me headers, right? That's why I see it. So I'm going to get rid of those. And I'm going to pipe it to JQ because that looked like JSON data. And we have data from the server, right? We're doing a union all select version, version comment, version compile. So anything in those parameters, if we go back here and put like, we'll do 1 here, right? And now we see service ID is 1. I wonder if we can do just text. So if we do A, we don't get anything. So maybe it needs to be numbers in that field. So let's get this. I'm trying to think of the easiest way to show this. I guess we can keep going in curl. I'm going to add a -q, I think. Let's see, maybe a -s. There we go. All I was doing was hiding this. Because we set it to a pipe, now curl decided to display the stat to us. But yeah, so we want to now start exfilling data. We could just put this into SQLMap. So if I went here, I think if I just did this, right? So we remove the SQL injection. I'm going to, let's see. We'll do -x. I'm going to send it to Burp Suite. So X is proxy. I'm going to say 127.0.0.1.80.80. And I'm going to go to my proxy tab, intercept this, send it over to repeater. And now I can copy to file, and we can save this into a file of, let's see, MetaTwo. And I'll do event.sql. So if I now go into event.sql, that looks good to me. We can do SQLMap -r for request event.sql and see if SQLMap finds it, right? We could have specified the parameter, but it's going to check every parameter for us. So now that we have that going, let's go back to doing this manually. I should put it in batch mode. So let me copy this. The reason I'm copying it again is sometimes when you copy tmux, when tmux is in like this copy mode and you copy the line, it copies a line break as well, which is really annoying. So that's why I just did that. I'm going to do -- batch, so it no longer asks me questions. What? Total service. Most likely leftover. Oh. Wait. Maybe it doesn't like this dash here. Okay, it did not like the negative sign. Hopefully that doesn't affect anything. But while SQLMap runs, let's go and play with this actual injection. What we want to do is extract probably like all the WordPress users of this, right? So one of the things I'm thinking about is, well, hold on one second. There we go. I want to get back to the union statement so I don't have to count everything. I know the default WordPress user table is going to be WP_users. So I can just say from WP_users in my SQL injection syntax. And then anywhere here, I can put the table names. It's probably going to be like username, right? We got nothing. Let's just go to Google, WP users table. We could get this through information schema. If you go to like ipsec.rocks, I'm sure you can find tons of examples where I do it, but this is going to be the simple way. I just want user login, probably user password, right? So we can do user_login and user_password. And I don't have to do any type of concat. If you look at a lot of my previous SQL injection videos, I do something to put it all on one line. I'm not doing that because this SQL injection allows us to do multiple lines. I know that just by this list operator, how it's doing it, right? So when I do this, I was expecting to get a result, right? But I did not. So I have an SQL injection error somewhere. Let's see. We did user login. Was it user_? It's not password. It's user_pass. So let's do user_pass. And there we go. We have both of them. We have this booking service ID. That's admin. And we got the password there. It's kind of annoying. If I want to copy it, instead of doing that, I can probably just do this, right? Concat : user pass. Did I put that on one line? I didn't. I'm just going to copy them. We can do it this way. So echo admin : this to users.text. And we're going to do manager as well. So echo manager password to users.text. So we have two hashes here. I'm going to copy these, and then we're going to go over to the Kraken and try to crack them, right? So SSH Kraken, and this is a box on my local network. You can crack it. Just don't do it in VM because VMs always go slow. I'd always just recommend doing it on your host, right? So hashes / meta2.wordpress, paste it in, / hashcat. Then I'm going to give it the dictionary file. The word list, we'll use opt word list rocku.txt. And I got to specify the -- users flag because I put the username : the password, right? And it's user, not users. So it's going to attempt, and it should auto detect it. And we got one of the passwords already. It's party like a rock star. It's finishing, and that's it. So if we do, I think it's -- show, right? So get rid of the word list and then do -- show. It tells us it is PHP pass. That's how it did it. And we also keep the username here. If we didn't do the -- users flag and didn't put the username on the hash file, then it would just tell us this hash and it'd be up to us to go find which user it belonged to. I just really like this, right? So we can copy this. And then let's log into WordPress. So we're going to do /wp -login. Is it .php? There it is. You could also go to WP admin. That's another place many people go to. It just redirects you to that, right? So manager, paste in the password, and we get logged in. We're not an admin of this, so we can't like edit themes or do anything like that. So let's go back to all our enumeration data, right? So I'm going to close this. We see SQLMap done, and it has found time-based blind. It didn't do the union injection. It only did this through blind, which is odd. Let's see, -- technique equals U. So that's going to be union. And let's see, is it risk 3, level 5? Oh, I did 6, level 5. There we go. I just want to make sure it gets union. If we tell SQLMap to do a time-based blind, it's going to take forever to dump the database. And I want to have the database being dumped in the background just in case I missed something. It's always nice to have if you can have something running, right? WPScan, still not finished running. It's enumerating all plugins. We can see, let's see, what else is there here? Robots.txt, XML RPC. We have WordPress version 5.6.2 released 2021. So that's going to be potentially something. The WordPress is really old. And generally speaking, WordPress doesn't have a vulnerability from unauthenticated users in the core. But if you're an authenticated user, it wouldn't surprise me if there's a core vulnerability. So we're also going to search for WordPress exploits around that while we just wait for everything to finish, right? We just got a bunch of recon going on in the background. What's going on? This is IPSec from the future, and I don't know exactly what is going on here with why SQLMap doesn't detect union injections. If you remember from a couple minutes ago, it detected it was like blind-based time or something, which takes a long time to dump. So we specified union, said risk 3, level 5, and said go at it. And SQLMap came back saying it's not injectable when we did this manually. So what I'm going to do is a -v. And then if we do options, so if we did like man SQL map real quick and look for verbose, we can see there are 6 levels, right? Generally levels 0 to 2 don't really help me. I like starting at level 3. So if we do v equals 3, well, maybe we can do 3 Vs. We start saying bad request. I wonder if our nonce is bad here. So we could do 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think it tells us the response, or it should have. Let's add another V for good measure. I'm guessing this is the response. It's just saying 0. Let's see. Let's just make sure our nonce is correct. So let's clear this out, get rid of that nonce, go back here, refresh the page, search for nonce, grab this, paste, and see what happens if we tell it. Are we going to get a bunch of errors again? Nope, that sounds fine. So maybe our nonce expired. So if we do 3 Vs, we can see all the requests, and it's getting bad request. That is not what I'd expect. So let's do 4 so we see the actual request. So we do the WP nonce, total service. Oh, I'm guessing maybe the bad request is us editing a field like the bad nonce or something. I'm just going to tell it to specify total service. So let's do -p total_service. And we want to add those 3 Vs. And let's make sure we don't get any of those bad request messages. So that's good, right? But it doesn't seem to be working well, right? We have these negatives. It's doing all these order bys. And SQLMap's right now testing for union injections. And it skipped 11 to 20. But if we do, I think it's like 1 to 10, right? we see it is specifically testing for MySQL Union 1 to 10 columns. And we're not getting anything back. So I'm going to speed this video up. We're just going to, oh, I don't have to speed it up. It tells us total service does not seem to be injectable. So I'm going to specify another thing we could do is the actual payload had this be a negative number, and then it put a parenthesis. And if I put a star anywhere in this request, then SQLMap is going to, I'm just going to run this and kill it real quick. Say, let's see, go up. Oh my God. So much debug output. Let's just get rid of debug. It's telling it exactly where to inject, right? The custom post parameter number 1, star. So that's why I added that. So it tells it exactly where to attack. And it's doing the same exact thing. We can add another V so we can see the actual request. And this is going to make sure it's doing what we expect, right? -7529. This is a parenthesis. And now it's just adding on the SQL injection. And it's not working. We can see what the payloads are. And it's not doing like a union injection, like testing by 1 to 10 columns as I expect, because I only keep seeing like one number here. So once this finishes, I'm going to specify exactly how many columns I want it to be. So I'm going to grep this for curl, and I'm going to count the columns. See, it's probably going to be 9 columns if my memory is correct. So let's history, grep curl. So let's see. Here's what we did a inject. So we got 1 column, 2 column, 3 column, and then 1 to 6. So that's going to be 9. So if I do man SQL map, let's see, union dash, let's see, search of columns. It's not in here. SQL map, union, specify number of columns. -- union cols. So let's do that. So we'll keep it with 3 V's and then do -- union cols, right? Yes. And it's equal to 9. And now this payload looks much more used to what we're seeing with all the commas and testing for things. And hopefully it will end up telling us this is injectable with a union injection, right? So it is trying. I expected it to be a little bit quicker, but it should finish any second. Come on, SQL map. Tell me what it is. I'm just going to, I guess, speed up the video. We'll get to the end of this command and see what it says, because I'm not sure exactly how long this is going to take. Okay, so now the SQL map is done. It successfully found union injection in this, so we could dump the database and it would go so much quicker. So if we just do now -- dump, we should start seeing it export information, and we can get back onto the video now that this piece is done. So I think we were logging into WordPress as the user that we cracked out of this database and figuring out what we can do with him. And now we're just going to Google WordPress 562 exploit. Let's see what pops up here. We have an XXE vulnerability. We also have WPScan showing it. I'm kind of surprised that it didn't tell us. I'm just going to go straight to the blog report. Like when I ran this, I'm surprised it didn't like have this as yellow as exploit. It just says insecure. I'm guessing insecure is because it is 2021. Maybe this is because we don't give it an API key. Maybe WPScan doesn't have all the information. I'm not exactly sure, but let's go take a look at this. So we have an XML external entity injection vulnerability, and how it handles, I guess, metadata in WAV files, right? So it's telling us the XXE here. Let's see, exactly how is this working? Identify passwd. So right here, I think this is going to have us create the WAV file, and it's telling us to get a DTD file from a remote source. So this is probably just going to make it easier for us to exploit. So it's maybe a blind XXE. It's going to download a file from us, and that file will be like, give me etc passwd encoded in base64 and send it back to us. So we need to do two things. We have to first create the WAV file with that XXE in it. And it looks pretty simple. It's telling us right here, this is where it is. Like ref, this is the magic bytes to make that header. And that says your XML payload. And it's giving us the payload here. So I'm going to paste this. And then we're going to change our IP address. I'm going to do port 8000. And of course, 10.10.14.8. Okay, let's do that. I'm going to make dir dub. And then we want to create our XXE file. So it's going to be this one. And we call it evil.dtd because that's what they had called the first one in that payload.wav file. And we're going to send it to 10.10.14.8, port 8000. So it's going to take etc passwd and send it to us over the web, right? So let's save that. Python 3-m HTTP server. We have that loaded. And the next thing we have to do is upload that WAV file. So let's go to media, add new, select file. Let's go to, what is the box name? MetaTwo. It's HTB, then MetaTwo. Okay. And payload.wav. We're attempting to upload. Unexpected response from the server. If we go back to our page, we can see a get on evil.dtd and then a bunch of base64. So I'm going to guess this is going to be the XML data, right? So let's do base64-d, and we have everything. Or have the passwd, I should say. So the next thing we want to do is, of course, save this to be passwd. I'm going to make a directory loot and then move passwd to that. There we go. So let's go back to our web server, and we're going to want to edit payload.wav, or not payload.wav, or a DTD file. So do this, and instead of getting etc passwd, I'm going to try wp-config.php. So we're going to try this, save it, and then let's just upload the payload.wav yet again. It's going to reach back to our server. We got the DTD, and it did nothing. I'm going to go up one directory. So we'll do // wp-config. If not, then I'm going to specify exactly like var dub HTML wp-config. We just really want to get the WordPress config, right? Because we know there's going to be like a database password and other things. So if there's a database password, maybe we can reuse it with the admin credential or admin username, and then log into WordPress and get code execution through the template or something. So let's do this, base64-d. Did I not copy that? Was this ncg? What? Save. Close. Payload wave. Is this the passwd file? If it is, something weird is going on. Maybe a caching thing, right? Echo-n. Let's see. Echo-n, base64-d. NCG is how it ended. So it's not going in my clipboard correctly. It ends in NCG. Echo-n. There we go. Now it ends in NCG, base64-d. And we have it. So I'm going to save it to loot wp-config.php. We'll go into loot. And I'm just doing it in Vim so we have some type of highlighting. It looks a bit better. We have a DB password there. So grep DB out of it. Let's copy this. We can go to manager to log out. The other user was admin, right? So we can do admin, attempt to log in, and it's failed. So that didn't really help us. We do have FTP information in here. We have metapress.htb as the user, this 9nys as the password. So let's take a look at this. And I always hate just copying out of Vim, so that's why you see me always switch over to less or something like that to do copy and paste. So FTP 10.10.11.186. It's going to connect, and again, it takes a little bit of time because it probably doesn't know its own host name or something like that, so it does a reverse DNS lookup. There we go. Let's put metapress.htb. Put in this password, and we're logged in. So if I do dir, we have mailer and the blog. I'm going to try going to blog real quick, and we'll do put passwd, put loot passwd, operation not permitted. So we can't write files here. We could try like going into various directories and uploading files. And the reason I tested for that is because if we can write a PHP file, we can just get code execution right away, right? But I think everything is going to be read-only or something. So let's see what's in this mailer directory, because this one's new to us, right? We haven't seen anything about mailer. It's using PHP mailer, and then we have this send email.php. So let's get send email.php, downloading it. Let's move send email to a loot directory, look at it. And we have username JNelson and another password. And if we looked at passwd grep nel, we have JNelson as a user of this box. We could also like, I always like grepping for everything that ends in sh to see all the users, but we have a user. I'm going to try to log in as him, right? And we're going to do it again on WordPress. Can't log in as admin. Let's SSH JNelson at 10.10.11.186. Put in the password, and we're logged into MetaTwo. Let's do an LSLA to see if there's any unique files. And I have something I don't recognize called .passpie, right? If I Google PassPie, let's see what it is. Command line password manager. So let's go into PassPie. I'm going to do find.-type f to show me all the files. And we have a keys file, root password, JNelson password, and config. I'm going to cat SSH JNelson. And the reason I'm doing this and not going straight for root, because I know what JNelson's password is, right? So this would confirm if I have the right thing. And it looks like the password is stored in a PGP message. So we need to find a way to decrypt this. So it's just a password manager using PGP. I bet if we look at this, it tells us password files are encrypted via GNUPG and stored into YAML files. So there were a few other files, right? There was keys and config. I know what keys is probably, so I want to look at config. It's just blank. So let's look at what keys is. And we have a PGP private key block. So I'm going to copy this. What if we want to copy the public as well? Probably just the private. And I'm guessing this private key is used to encrypt PGP messages. So let's go back over to the Kraken. And Hashcat doesn't support PGP. So I'm going to use John the Ripper. And I'm going to name this. Do I have a hashes directory here? CD hashes. Let's make a directory hashes. Go into it. And I'm going to call it meta2.pgp and paste in the key. And then in John, there is a PGP to John. Maybe it's GPG. I always use those interchangeably. So there is a GPG to John. So let's execute that and specify hashes MetaTwo, and we can save this. So v hashes MetaTwo. I'll call this GPG. Paste this in. I think I just now do John, the file, and then -- word list is equal to opt word list rocku.txt. Invalid encoding. Hashes. Let's see. DOS to Unix. I find that to be super strange that I have to do this because I created the file on Unix, right? Invalid encoding. Let's see. Format is equal to GPG. No. Let's see. GPG to John. Is there any arguments here? No such file. Let's see. GPG to John. Let's specify hashes MetaTwo PGP. We can say hashes meta2.gpg and rerun this. See, ls opt word list rocku. That is correct. Maybe the hash has to be on the end as the last argument. That'd be really silly, right? Is there a bad character in here or something? I'm at a loss for words. I guess we can do a file against these to see the encoding. Is it detecting this as not like ASCII? UTF-8 Unicode text. That's definitely supported. What are you? Guessing you're going to be ASCII? Yeah. I'm not sure exactly where it's failing. John. Oh, this is an old version of John, I think. Copyright 2016. I'm not doing // If I do / John here, what is my copyright? 2019. I should just update my John the Ripper. If I do / John, there we go. So it helps to update. We have the password of Blink182. So let's see if we can figure out how to use PassPie now. If I just do PassPie, let's see, -h, -- help. There we go. Let's see. We definitely don't want to purge. Let's see. We can export credentials in plain text. So PassPie export. Let's see. I was hoping there would be a dump config. No, import list. Let's see. Go back to the GitHub page. PassPie, password copied. How do I specify the password? Let's see. I wonder if I just do an export. So if I export, it wants the file path. I'm just going to give it dev shm creds. Oh, there we go. It wants this. So I'm exporting to that. I'm going to give it Blink182 as the passphrase. And if I go to dev shm cat creds, there we go. We have a password. I don't know what the Python Unicode thing is. I'm going to guess the password's just this. SU dash. There we go. I'm guessing that PassPie is a Python application, and it's telling it it's Python Unicode string, is my guess. But now we are root on MetaTwo, so hope you guys enjoyed that. Take care, and I will see you all next time.